Hey y'all, I'm going to talk to you about my late husband. I am a 62-year-old widower, but my husband has been dead for 33 years, over half my life. When we found out he came home from the hospital after he had been told that there was no hope, stage 4, it was everywhere. They could give him treatment, but it would only last a few days. So our whole world was shattered. We had so many plans. He was a teacher at Ivy Tech. Now, he was going to college also at ISU to get his master's degree because his boss wanted him to take over chair of the Department of Graphic Arts. So, I was in nursing school. We had plans. When I would graduate from nursing school, he would have graduated with his master's and took over the department. We were going to first buy a home. Okay, we were going to buy a home. Second, we were going to immediately adopt children. We wanted a boy and girl, mixed race. My husband was black. And everything just went down the drain in one night, and it's like, what the hell happened? I woke up the next morning, feel like the whole world had just landed on my shoulders. And his mother had told him he had to go to a nursing home. And he said, the hell you will. I said, you are my husband, you are my man. And I'm not letting you go to the hospital. And I didn't. I took care of him right there. Not one of his friends and not one of his family come to see him except for his sister Tanita, God rest her soul. But it was hard. I had him on hospice. He didn't want anything. He just wanted to die, and that made me so mad. I was mad. This was the man that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, and he was giving up. How could he give up? Did he not love me like I loved him? And then he explained to me. He said, honey, listen, the doctor said, yeah, he could give me another 3 months. But he said, in 3 months, I gotta go too. I'm not putting you through that. I'm not gonna put you through that. It's inevitable. I'm gonna die. I have to accept it. And he did. Now, I had 2 weeks vacation, so I took off 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks he was on hospice. He lasted 3 weeks. So the last week, his sister Tanita would come over and sit with him at night while I worked. And then she'd leave in the morning. And then I would take over taking care of him. I had a chair beside his bed. I got in that chair and I would just doze, or wake up when he needed me. On the 5th night from my vacation, so it's over 3 weeks in, his mom had to come sit because Danita had been having some heart issues. She's no longer with us, God bless her soul. But she was the only one that really accepted me, in a mixed race, odd relationship. I loved her brother and she knew it. I would have gave anything for that man to live. I asked God to take me instead of him because I felt like he was more important. But I'm trying not to cry. But whenever I talk about him, I usually do. But he had told me, he said, I want you to finish school. Because he thought I would drop out after everything, you know. And I was tempted. I was tempted. But my mother had just died a couple years before. And she was the whole reason I got the gumption to go to school. I was going to do this. And I did it. I graduated. I only had a B average. I wasn't a straight A student. But I studied hard, and I worked full time, went to school full time. God knows sleep. But that was after he had passed. So anyway, on the 5th night, his mom had to come and spend the night with it. Okay. Well, I told her, I said, I just turned him because I knew you'd be here. He'll be all right for a couple hours. You'll need to check him to see if he's wet or dirty or whatever. Because he was comatose at this time. And she said, okay. And I walked out the door. And I told her, I said, hey, the next morning when I got home from work, he had the death rattles. It's the death rattles, but it's actually, the medical term is Cheyne-Stokes. Okay. So he was in Cheyne-Stokes. And I told her, I said, you might want to stick around here because he's not going to be here very much longer. And she said, no, Johnny go, got things to do. Of course she did. She had went up to the college and had everything switched over into her name. Even his checking and savings account. She took his car before he right after he came home from the hospital. She took his car, he didn't even know it. And he would ask me, baby, have you heard from, and he would name his friends. I don't really want to name them. And I said, baby, everybody has a life and everybody's busy. And everybody gets caught up. So I said, we'll get together all soon. But his family? Really? You're not going to come see your brother that's dying? So, when the Cheyne-Stokes car started, I got in his bed and I held him in my arms and I told him, I love you. I love you with all my heart and soul. And if God would take me now, I would go for you. I said, please, just know that you were loved. And wait for me, baby. Wait for me. And he died. It was a horrible day. Horrible. More to come later. Hey, y'all. Keep your minds open. Your heart full of love. And hey, be kind. You never know what anybody's going through, They might have a smile on their face and crumbling inside. In there. Bye, y'all.